My name's Eugenia, and I'm from UC Irvine Informatics. Today, I'm going to be talking about class confessions. Before I start, I'd like to give special thanks to my co-authors, Oliver Haimson, Nazanin Andalibi, Melissa Mazmanian, and Gillian Hayes, as well as my advisor, Alfred, and the peers at UC Irvine who gave me tremendous support and feedback for this work. So, what are class confessions? Class confessions are anonymous posts written and submitted by lower income students and first generation students at prestigious universities where it's really difficult to talk about personal experiences around socioeconomic stigma, as well as other intersectional identities. And these confessions are collected by a group of moderators in the form of private messages through Facebook chat, Tumblr, Google Docs, or even as survey responses on SurveyMonkey. Once submitted to a moderator, the confession is then posted on what is usually the university's Facebook class confession page, or sometimes even a Tumblr version of it, as you can see here. These class confession pages are usually run by a network of nationwide student organizations called FLIP, which stands for First Generation and Lower Income Partnership. FLIP has student board members who act as confession page moderators and event organizers for fellow lower income students on campus. And what brings me here is currently there is very little HCI work investigating the online experiences of socioeconomic stigma. And to address this gap, my co-authors and I took a closer look at a particular class confessions page from a prestigious American college that we anonymize as Elite University. We also paraphrase all the example quotes from our data to make sure that we eliminate any form of traceability back to the user. So Elite University Class Confessions, or EUCC, is a Facebook page organized by Elite University's FLIP organization. It's a socio-technical system that includes the people, practices, and policies of Elite University and the FLIP members, as well as an infrastructure of a variety of technological platforms. This unique combination of technical and human actors provides a venue and structure for producing, experiencing, and learning about socioeconomic stigma. And by creating the conditions under which stigmatized disclosures and exchange of support take place, we argue through our work, we actually introduce through our work what we call restorative properties. We define restorative properties as semi-stable social technical arrangements that enable specific opportunities for action, reflection, and communication in relation to stigmatized identities. One of the core contributions of our work is showing how restorative properties influence the experiences of posters, commenters, and even the readers around class stigma, which can, in return, ultimately help foster new experiences and understandings towards stigmatized issues that are not really talked about. In the rest of the presentation, I'm going to discuss how class confessions, socio-technical configurations, help shape the nature of user interactions around class stigma, as well as how people experience stigma differently through the restorative properties of EUCC. The restorative properties I will talk about today are expressing separate and congruent identities in tandem, overcoming limitations of exchanging physical help, and opening perspectives. In the interest of time, I'm only going to cover the first three in the presentation. Of all 37 American university class confession pages at the time of our data collection, EUCC had the highest number of likes, followers, and people who were talking about this, which is a real-time stat count of keywords entered in the Facebook search bar. For the study, we extracted approximately 1,000 posts, 600 comments in EUCC's first year period as our primary data source. Although confessional posts were anonymous, the comments weren't. So during the data extraction process, we collected the comments without collecting the commenters' names. Furthermore, we conducted interviews with FLIP board members who were really crucial to the founding stages of EUCC. And finally, we approached our data through a grounded inductive coding process to identify emergent themes and patterns. Then we performed discourse analysis on a selected subset of posts to analyze how EUCC's influenced posters' experience of being low income, low socioeconomic status at a place like elite university. The first restorative property I'll be talking about is expressing separate and congruent identities in tandem. At a place like elite university, the opportunity to talk about being an elite student, but one that is also skipping meals, low income, hungry, poor, homeless, it's pretty rare. However, on EUCC posters who experience these class struggles while attending elite university routinely express separate and congruent identities in tandem, as well as their intersectional identities. And often these confessions are not typical for the average elite student. For example, posters like 578 may be unable to discuss ongoing life experiences that are incongruent with his elite university identity, especially on identifiable social media accounts like Facebook. For example, this poster confessed, "I send my social worker from the homeless shelter updates on my grades every semester. It's a good way to keep in touch and to let him know that I'm still living my dream. I'm not sure that's a common thing to do at elite." And on Facebook, as we all know, we tend to share primarily positive things about ourselves, including myself. But this positivity bias is what can make it really hard for posters like 578 to openly share experiences that might be perceived poorly by his or her connections. Well, through our work, we show that there are two things that allow posters like 578 to express separate and congruent identities in tandem. The first one is moderated anonymity. Moderated anonymity is really central for posters to discuss how they personally experience social attributes as stigma and how these social attributes shape their daily interactions with others. The following poster confessed, "I hate telling people about my struggles. I would not even be using EUCC if it was not anonymous. People look at you differently when they know you're poor. You suddenly go from Tyler smart and cool to Tyler is smart for a poor kid, etc. Treat me normally. I'm still Tyler." Here we can see that anonymity afforded by EUCC gives this poster the ability to continue to be just Tyler in identified settings with his friends, while at the same time enabling him to explicitly engage with his low SES, low income identity on EUCC. But as we all know, in the online realm, anonymity is linked with lower accountability and greater disinhibition. However, on EUCC, Facebook and Tumblr page moderators really strive to ensure accountability to counter the risks that come with anonymity, as you can see in the statement posted by EUCC admin. "We strive to have anonymity in all aspects of this page. We hope that you will do the same as well. That being said, we will not tolerate people posting other people's names on posts or outing people. If you comment something like, 'Oh, this person is actually named,' we will automatically delete the comment and ban you. Anonymity is paramount to us, and we will not tolerate people who try to violate that." As you can see here on EUCC, when moderators receive confessions in the form of private messages, they know who the posters are, and they strive to hold them accountable for any form of deviations from the norms and policies that they try to create for the community of EUCC. The second restorative property is overcoming limitations of exchanging physical help. Prior studies show that exchange of informational or emotional support is far more frequent than tangible support in computer-mediated support groups. Soliciting tangible support online requires users to reveal their personal hardships using their real names. But our findings indicate that the configuration of anonymous requests and identifiable responses helps users overcome such constraints in asking for and providing tangible assistance. Facebook posts indicating need of assistance are always anonymous and are only identifiable by their numeric unique identifiers or confession post numbers. On the other hand, commenters' names are visible when they respond to these posts offering help. One poster anonymously posted, "The school changed its policy so that we can no longer stay in our dorms over winter break. I do not feel safe at home, and I have a job here that I cannot afford to lose. I don't know what I'm going to do. I can't afford to rent another place just for a month." In response to this poster, numerous commenters offered help by volunteering some form of housing assistance, as you can see here. And in many cases, when there's more than one poster who needs the same type of tangible support, Flip can actually collectively work with these commenters to leverage both individual and collective help from network ties who make themselves visible to the anonymous posters through EUCC. For example, as you can see in this post, the moderators posted from EUCC admin, "We received few confessions from students offering to help those facing homelessness over winter break. In order to maintain transparency, we will post them with a reminder that Flip has a spreadsheet for all those offering housing. And those of you who need housing can email us at flip@elite.edu from your school account email to request a list of people who have offered housing. It is up to you to contact the person and arrange to stay in the space offered." What this does is it creates an opportunity of correspondence between posters, commenters, and sometimes even the organizers to work together to enable stigmatized individuals to receive material support from a wider audience of people who may be very hard to reach at a place like Elite University. And this exchange, as you can see in the confession post 796, this exchange on EUCC not only helps provide tangible and material support that are often desperately needed by lower income, first generation student peers, but it also helps them to potentially embrace their stigmatized identities, as shown in this post. The third restorative property is opening perspectives. In our paper, we show how unique identifiers and moderator involvement help facilitate discussions around socioeconomic stigma that can push and open new perspectives. On class confessions, dialogue about socioeconomic issues routinely take place because class-related topics are diverse and very conflicting. Here's a post that reads, "Just because I'm low income doesn't mean I can't own nice things. I wear designer brands because I'm really good at finding deals. However, I'm ashamed to wear nice clothes because I'm afraid that it will add to this image of a welfare queen that people seem to have of me." In reaction to this post, another poster responded at 506, confession poster 506. "I mean, you're not a welfare queen. Good for you for finding deals, but honestly, maybe if you saved some of that money and spent less on designer clothing, you could add to your savings to get out of the lower class." However, this response confession was only posted after a moderator inserted an addendum, as you can see here, to clarify the intentions of allowing a potentially negative and a conflicting response. Also, in response to this response, the original 506 poster posted at 511. "This is the person who posted 506. I shop once a year to replace old items not appropriate to wear anymore, spending $100 and $150 max. Even if I saved $150 a year, it's not enough for tuition, rent, health insurance, or anything that would help me, quote unquote, get out of the lower class." As you can see here, unique identifiers like the one you see, 531, 511, they serve an important function in replace of persistent pseudonyms or usernames that are commonly used on social media. Unique identifiers, as you can see here, really work to facilitate interaction between posters or even between past and present versions of the same poster. Also, they offer single-use yet persistent identity that really allows meaningful dialogue to occur without identification, which is really crucial in this context. Okay, just one. There's a lot more that I discuss in the actual paper, which I hope you guys will go and read. But for the purpose of this presentation, I'd like to emphasize two key implications. The key implication of this paper is that restorative properties enable integration of disparate social memberships in online support groups, and that they allow belonging through invisibility. Throughout our data, posters express that they do not belong on campus with their fellow elite students, whom they assume to be very different from themselves. Membership in one group is described in these posts as mutually exclusive to the other. However, EUCC in effect challenges this perception. What EUCC does is it actually grounds a locus of discussion and expression of marginalized statuses within a common membership identity as elite students. In fact, EUCC expands that group membership boundary to include not only just marginalized individuals, but the largest campus community of elite students around socioeconomic stigma. And this is really important because bringing an outsider into a larger circle of people with marginalized statuses is really risky, especially if those outsiders do not necessarily identify with those stigmatized issues. However, the restorative properties that characterize EUCC provide an artful integration between the two different social worlds to form an ongoing and stable relationship that transcends existing boundaries. This is a significant departure from existing online support groups that tend to partition those with stigmatized identities away from others so that they can discuss their issues privately. This is critical because true membership, we argue in this work, true membership in the context of EUCC does not mean just being part of a low-income community or just being an elite student. It actually means being both. Furthermore, EUCC's scalability as a networked public helps provide visibility and voice to an otherwise very invisible community of people with stigmatized statuses. Outsiders are by definition spread out across a population and they don't feel part of a larger community. Shame and persistence of identities on real-name social networking sites or face-to-face interactions make it really difficult to foster community around stigmatized issues and identities. Thus, discussions around class and socioeconomic stigma at elite university, it's either highly visible in public context or largely invisible in personal interactions between close friends. However, EUCC emerges as this hybrid on-offline community which allows stigmatized people to come together and identify as part of the group without having to personally come out as part of that group. And that said, I would like to conclude by saying that while motivating socio-technical designs that take users' stigmatized identities into consideration is definitely not an easy task, we argue through this work that restorative properties can affect change in the social context through which people experience socioeconomic stigma. And before I conclude, I would just like to recognize Oliver Haimson and Nazanin Andalibi for being amazing mentors and peers and an inspiration to becoming a compassionate researcher in this field. Thank you.
I'm afraid we're out of time, so there won't be any questions. I hope you're inspired. I hope you do social justice. I hope you support social justice and come back with your own work next time. Thank you so much to all of the presenters and their supports, and what a wonderful session. Thank you.